Nothing but net. Aussie Hoops presented by Amy is back, and so is Hoops Fest. 4 straight days. It's just basketball heaven from Perth. And it's fair to say I'm jealous of this man who is there right now, the CEO of the NBL, David Stevenson. Hello, mate. It is great to see you again. And how's it all looking over there? You know, just a couple of hours away from this thing tipping off.
Yeah, hi Kane, how are you? Firstly, Happy New Year to you and all of your viewers. But yeah, we're excited. I feel like it's Christmas morning. We've got the first games tonight. It's been a big build-up and we can't wait to get started.
So if there are people that, you know, later in the weekend, they're watching this show and they're thinking, yeah, we can still get over to Perth, we can get tickets, we can be a part of this, what are they going to be in store for and what potential new things, have you brought to the table for this year?
Yeah, really the whole concept of Hoops Fest is really basketball heaven. I mean, you're going to have all 10 NBL clubs playing a regular season game there. For the first time, all 8 WNBL clubs. We've got a grassroots tournament. We've got Sneakerland to talk about sneakers and music and fashion. And then, we've got a little bit of NBA star power with Allen Iverson coming. So for anyone who wants to come along, tickets are really affordable, starting at only $12. And they're going really well so far, but there is space and can't wait to see all the fans and their experiences over the next 4 days.
Yeah, it's a good point about the activations you have all around this, but if you want to watch WNBL, you can do so. If you want to watch NBL, you can do so. And we're at a part of the season where there's a bunch of contending teams that are battling for their spot. So it's going to be highly competitive. You mentioned Allen Iverson, and I suspect there's a lot of basketball fans, particularly of my vintage, when you were a kid and he was the man or one of the men that maybe you're playing with the video games and the iconic Philadelphia teams. What is AI actually going to be doing there, and can fans get a glimpse of him, whether it's at a game or elsewhere?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Alan's been fantastic so far. He arrived yesterday afternoon. There's certainly a buzz around the city with him coming, but he's coming along to the games tonight on Thursday, also Friday and Saturday. He's going to be appearing down at the Fan Festival in Forest Place. And so he's going to meet with a whole lot of our partners and athletes. He's clearly Bryce Cotton's favourite, so we're arranging something for them to catch up with. So it's going to be fantastic everywhere he goes.
From the business side of things, I know you'll be doing some business over there, David, and I think we see a lot of questions because it is such a fantastic idea and a fantastic weekend that other cities are going to want to be a part of this. What is it looking like moving forward into next year? And are you convinced that Perth is the place that this always wants to be, or where are we at with that?
Yeah, look, we're thrilled with the WA government support and Tourism WA. They took a chance on a new concept last year and really decided to make sure that they could take advantage of that. We'd love to reward them with a long-term commitment here. They seem very interested, but there is interest from other states, but we see the long-term benefit of being in Western Australia. And this time of year has also been a huge advantage for all the kids on school holidays. So I think all things being equal, we'd love to be back in Western Australia.
I like it. Is this something that would be potentially locked down in the next couple of weeks here during this tournament, or is this down the road a little bit?
Yeah, more over the next month or two. We've got a lot of work to do on the schedule for next year, and obviously this is really important, both on the NBL and WNBL calendar. But we're having really encouraging conversations with the WA government. So we're optimistic, but also, again, there's great interest everywhere else, and there's the biggest celebration of basketball in the Southern Hemisphere. So we're looking forward to seeing the fan reaction.
All right, I wanted to follow up. We caught up in Melbourne a couple of months ago in September, and I wanted to follow up on some of the conversation we had there. So one of the other initiatives this season has been the Ignite Cup, where we're getting towards the pointy end of that, the in-season tournament for the NBL. How has the league viewed how that's progressed and whether or not that's been a success first time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're like anything that's a new initiative, there's always things that go really well and there's some things that will improve for next time. But overall, we're absolutely thrilled with the Ignite Cup. The attendances, the broadcast ratings, the level of media interest has been off the charts. It's also allowed us to take games into non-traditional venues in regional states and new cities like Canberra and Gold Coast and up to Bendigo for Melbourne United. So we're thrilled with how it's gone. We're excited about the final on the Gold Coast in February, and we'll absolutely be doing it again next year and for the foreseeable future.
Do you think the format will stay the same? We know in the NBA, obviously, it's a little more condensed and gives fans a chance really early in the season to get caught up in something that you can potentially win. The reason I ask that is because when we watch it, and people like me are watching every single game, but when it's every Wednesday stretched over the course of the season, it feels like early in the season, perhaps the momentum wasn't there. It felt like a game, but maybe not so much you're playing for something that early.
Yeah, it's a great question, Kane. I mean, we're reviewing it as we go along. I think what we've also found this season is some teams played a lot of their Ignite Cup games early on in the season. So when you looked at the ladder, the standings really were a little difficult to understand because some teams hadn't played at all. So that's one of the things we're reviewing. But it's unlocked a whole new audience for us, younger families, younger people. Having that consistency of every Wednesday night allows us to present the game differently. So I think overall we'll broadly keep it similar, but there'll definitely be some tweaks that we'll make to ensure that next year becomes bigger and better.
Of course, we love it on ESPN and Disney Plus as well. Wednesday nights, the final on Feb 22, so make sure you lock into that on the Gold Coast. But you mentioned the Gold Coast, and this has been in the news over and over again, the expansion and what's coming forward potentially in the future. I did see an article on the NBL website, Vince Crivelli, talking a little bit about Gold Coast really putting themselves at the forefront to potentially get an expansion team. I think there's a lot of skepticism around Gold Coast as a destination for a sporting team. There's been some ventures that maybe haven't quite worked, whether it's the NBL or other sports. So why do you believe now is the time to dive back into the Gold Coast potentially?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that have changed since there. One of the most powerful stats that I was talking with the Basketball Queensland CEO last night is when the Gold Coast Blaze were there, the number of local participants in the Gold Coast region playing basketball was 1,000 people. Today, that number is 12,000 people. So the growth of basketball has been off the charts. The population's obviously grown. And for us, the big unlock is the venue and the way that the council and the government are talking around the venue. That's what's going to make a big difference because in all of those cities, what we can't do anymore is play in the 3,000 and 4,000 seat venues on a regular basis. So we do need to have bigger venues. We had 55 sellouts last year, and already we're 10 sellouts higher than where we were this time last year. So we think that Gold Coast is a really interesting option, but like everything, we don't want to just expand for expansion's sake. It's got to have all of those elements ready. And we've seen the benchmark, which has been the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. We know what that takes, and so we're not going to compromise on any of those things until all of those elements are ready.
I think the Tassie Jack Jumpers have actually made it unfair on everyone else for how well it has worked since they came in, so we'll see. But I think everyone is fascinated. I see different cities, whether it's Canberra, I'm always going to bring up Geelong, all those people that are out in Perth asking why can't we have a second team, obviously big demand in Western Australia. So it's going to be interesting to follow. One other question that I asked you a couple of months ago was around the standard of officiating, and you discussed the idea of trying to get more professional officials, and the question I have is around the communication from players and officials and also coaches and officials. We saw on the weekend Mike Wells talking about perhaps that communication and consistency isn't quite there. It seems like that is a bit of a theme from players and coaches. So where are we at with that, and what is the process to continuing to try and improve?
Yeah, I think officiating is one of those things in every sport around the world that no one ever feels like is perfect, and that's certainly our reflection too. We're proud of the work the officials do, the initiatives that we've brought in, like more full-time referees, more refs coming from the states as well, has helped. But we're not perfect, and we're not getting 100% of the calls right, in much the same way as a player or a coach doesn't get 100% of the calls right. So we think we can improve in that area. I've got a lot of confidence in the team that will take those steps forward, and one of those areas is around communication, because we know that whenever we speak to coaches and teams, the two things they always talk about is consistency and communication. And so we're on a journey with those. And I know that each game we're going to get better with some of the initiatives we're putting in place.
Are the length of the reviews something you're looking at? And this is a bugbear of mine. I feel like sometimes it just drags on forever and ever. And I'm like, come on, let's get back to the game quick enough. Is that something you're looking at?
Yeah, that's important too, because what we do want to do is make sure we get the right call, and so we don't want to compromise that. I think the other area we could improve on the reviews too is for the in-stadium people to understand what's going on. I think if you're watching on ESPN or Disney Plus, you're getting a great experience to understand those replays, but I think in stadium it's not quite as clear to all the people there. So that's an area we're working on to improve for next year.
Perfect. Last one I got for you, and this is admittedly something that I have absolutely no clue about how it works or how it gets developed, but the website and app, it's something I see a lot on social media, and it feels, for me as well, my personal experience, sometimes it's difficult to navigate. The stats aren't right. It feels like it's glitching. What is the process for improving the app, or where are we at in terms of getting that up to standards of some of the other leagues that you compete with?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. Look, we moved to a new app platform this season, and I think we're the first to be able to say that it hasn't gone as smoothly as what we'd like. So we want to take responsibility and ownership for that. We've made some changes pretty quickly to be able to get that back up to speed, and we feel good with where it's at, but there's still a lot of areas that we do need to improve. So there's a whole body of work that we've got underway there. We've got some external expertise coming in to help us. And we know that that's so important because all of our fans love seeing all of those stats and the news and the updates. And so that's an area that we do want to take some big steps forward in.
Perfect. I think a lot of people at home will be happy with that and look forward to seeing that over the next few months and certainly into next season. I said off the top, to be honest, I'm pretty jealous that I'm not there at Hoops Fest. It's going to be a fantastic weekend. I can't wait to watch it from over here, and we always appreciate your time, mate, and especially you taking some of my questions, my probing questions of things that really I'm just worried about.
We're always happy to answer any questions you've got.